Okay, I'm just finishing row 13 here, and probably the biggest struggle with row 13 is making sure we don't put too many stitches on the sides, especially those short sides where they only call for 12 on the side. You want to really be careful of that because you'll end up with too many stitches for round 14. So just watch that really closely as you're doing your round 13, that you end up with 12 on the short sides. And how many does it call for on the long side? It doesn't really say. So watch that short side that you only get 12. I'm going to count. I think that I have 12. I'm going to count. That doesn't include the 2 on the corner. Okay, 1, 2, 3, 4, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. And really, I'm just trying to space them evenly to get my 12. And then my last one, 12. And then round 13 says to join. So I'm going to join in the top of my first half double crochet with a slip stitch. And then it says to turn. So you could go ahead and make sure that you had the 98 stitches as it says turn, and then it should have 98 stitches, and we could count our stitches 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12 all the way around to get 98. Alright, so I've turned my work and I've counted. I've got my 98 and I'm ready to start round 14. The round 14 starts with chain 1, and then it says 2 half double crochets in the next 14 stitches. And so I'm just going to look at the top of my work here, and I'm going to go in the first stitch closest to my chain 1 there. So I'm going to yarn over and then do 2 half double crochets in that first stitch. 1, 2, and then 2 half double crochets in the next stitch, and I'm going to do that for the next 14 stitches. Okay, so I'm just finishing up my 14th stitch with 2 half double crochets, which equals 28 stitches, half double crochets across the narrow end of the bottom of my bag. And now the pattern says to do 35 half double crochets in the next, okay, so now the instructions say to do a single half double crochet in the next 35 stitches, and so that will go along the long side of the bottom of our bag. We'll do a single half double crochet in each stitch. There's 1, 2, 3, and we'll just keep working in this manner until we're all the way to across. Alright, so now I'm finishing up the 35 with 31, 32, 33, 34, 35, and then the pattern says to do 2 half double crochets in the next 14, which is the short end of my bag bottom again. So I'm going to do that. There's 1, 2 in that first stitch, and so I'm putting 2 half double crochets in each stitch That's 2 and 3 and 4, and I'll continue doing this 2 half double crochets in each stitch across that narrow end until I've done it 14 times. Okay, so I'm at the end of that second narrow end with the 14. I'm just going to finish up here with that 2. Here's a half double crochet, and then I want to be sure you can see what I'm doing here. So there's 1 in there, and then another one, another half double crochet all the way to the corner. And that should be 14. I'm just going to count them to be sure. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13. I got to do one more. 14. Okay, so now I'm ready to start the last long edge, and that should be 35 half double crochets to the end of round 14. Okay, so I'm at the end of round 14. This is stitch 34, and then stitch 35 is right next to our starting chain there. I hope you can see that there. Let me just see if I can change this angle. So here's our starting chain, and I'm just going to put stitch 35 in this stitch right next to the starting chain, and then I'm going to join to the top. I'm just going to join right in the top of my chain 1 there. I'm going to grab it right underneath that V. Sometimes it's a little hard to grab it right in the right place to join. So I'm just going to join it with a slip stitch. And we have round 14 complete. And the pattern says that after our join, we're going to turn our work. So I turned it over, and we're ready to start round 15. Now round 15 to 32, they're all the same. The pattern says chain 1 and then half double crochet in each stitch around, and we're just going to go all the way around the perimeter, and then when we get to the end of the round, we should have 126 stitches, and we'll join and turn. All right, so I'm going to chain 1 and start my half double crochets around. There's 1, and I always like to count pretty careful in round 15 just to make sure that I'm getting things accurate. And so I'm going to count all the way around my half double crochets. 4, 5, 6, and then I'm going to finish round 15, and then I'll come back at the end just to go over turning our round one more time. Okay. Okay. 121. I've been counting all the way around. 122. 123. 124. 125. And 126. And then I'm going to slip stitch in the top of my row of my first stitch. You want to be careful not to catch your chain one. You want to get the top of that first half double crochet there. So there's my chain one, there's my half double crochet, this is the top of my chain one, this is the top of my half double crochet. I want to catch the half top of my half double crochet to slip stitch into. And then remember, at the end we join and return. Alright, so now we're going to chain one, and we're starting round 16, and we're going to go into the stitch right next to the base of where we chained. So we're going to go one, and then we're just going to do that again. So you should have the hang of this now. I found that counting my stitches periodically helped me make sure that I wasn't getting off track and I didn't have to pull out too much to correct it. Sometimes if I was just one off, I might do a decrease. If I had one too many, I might do a decrease. Or if I had one too little, like only 125 at the end of a round, I might just do an increase. I don't want to get too far off and have to do a lot of that though, otherwise it'll start looking a little funky. So if you, for instance, if I got to the end of this round and it was time to join, but I only had 124 stitches, I might just end with 2 half double crochets in that last stitch to make up for it. And on the other side, if I got to the end of my round and I saw that I was going to have 127 or maybe even 128 stitches rather than the 126 called for, I would do a decrease. So let's say I had 127, to decrease down to the 126 just to try to keep things pretty even, I would do my yarn over, and then I would insert my hook and pull yarn through, and then before I did the yarn over and pulled through the 3 on my hook, I would put my hook through the next stitch and then the yarn over. So then you can see I have 4 stitches on my hook, but then I do a yarn over and pull it all the way through, and that would effectively decrease my stitch count just by the one that I was extra, just to try to keep everything kind of even. Alright, so I hope this helps you as you finish up your work for Tuesday night, and I'll see you then.